The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, goodness, faith, self-control. Against such things there is no law. Hi guys. A few days ago, I attended a memorial. Not a service per se, but a gathering that had been organized by someone in town to remember a young woman who had died of cancer. She was a high school student, not someone who I ever actually met. I don't know her family, but she was known to some people in our congregation as a student and a friend. So she had been in our prayers for some time, and when we heard that she had lost her battle with cancer and that there was going to be an evening for people to express their condolences and their solidarity to the family, I decided that I would attend that, especially because they, as it turns out, only live a few blocks away from my house. So on that evening, I put a candle in my pocket and headed out. It was dark in the evening. It was around 9 p.m., 9:30. And I walked those few blocks in the just the street lights, and it was quiet and peaceful. And I knew I was getting close because at a certain point I could start to see some blue and red flashing lights. There was a police car blocking access to traffic to the Crescent Street where the family live, which was probably a good thing. But from where I was standing at that moment, it was just sort of blinding headlights. So I was walking in the dark and I could only look, 2 or 3 steps ahead of myself so I could see where I was going because of the headlights of the police car. But there was a point at which I got to the corner and I turned the corner and those headlights were no longer in my face. And I could see just people. More people than I have seen in one place in a very long time. And they were all up one side of the block and across the street at the other end where there was another police car blocking traffic from the other direction. There were, I don't know how many people, lots. And they were all standing in little groups, the way you do, chatting and just talking about everyday things like you do. And though they were talking to each other, they were all it was a big sort of an arch shaped around and centered on the home of the family. And everybody was standing and facing the house, just being there, just being present and visible, trying to show their support for the family. The family were standing in the driveway, watching people coming and going from their front lawn, placing candles all together in a big cluster. There were maybe 100 candles, I don't know, lots, all scattered across the front lawn. And centered just beyond the candles, there were some portraits that had been placed there of the young woman who we were there to remember. People would walk up onto the lawn with their candles and set them in with all of the others, making that patch of light a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And people would stand there for a moment and just be quiet or cry or take pictures. And then they would go and stand in that semicircle with everyone else. After I'd set my candle down with everyone else's, I looked around. I didn't see anybody I knew, so I didn't stick around. And I walked towards home, sort of following my shadow away from those headlights. And I sort of took the long route home because I was thinking about it. I was thinking, you know, it had been beautiful. It had been beautiful, just the street lights and the candles and the faces and the atmosphere of love that was on that block that night. It was really beautiful. It was peaceful because people were just together, maybe for the first time in a long time. People were seeing each other and just spending time together. It was wonderfully human. It was encouraging and such a wonderful reminder of what it's like to be together with people. But in spite of being beautiful and peaceful and wonderfully human, it was also so sad. And I couldn't help but thinking that there has been a lot of sad lately. Some of it has been long and drawn out and tedious and tiring. And some of it has been sudden and shocking. And it just seems to me like there haven't been a lot of moments of joy lately. Which for me really hits me hard because just personally, joy has always sort of, to me, seemed to be my first fruit. It's the one that grows in the background behind all the other ones and informs and shapes the other ones as they grow in my life. Joy has always felt like a pool of cool, clean, clear water that is just always there and always being fed by a stream that's flowing from somewhere up there, reminding me that God is good and the world is beautiful and I love my family and my friends. But these days, and the longer this goes on, the less I feel that. There are days when I just don't feel it at all. Days when joy escapes me. Days when the gray and the sad and the cold just get to me and I don't even feel like I have the energy to go looking for joy. There are days when I have to remember to remind myself that it's still there somewhere under the gray and the sad. There are different ways that I do that, different ways that I go looking for joy in myself. One way is by remembering things like the sound of all of us singing together, remembering the feel of a hug, remembering the faces of people that I suddenly lost contact with when all this started going on and that I hope to reconnect with someday. Remembering the taste of communion. Those memories help me to find joy. I remind myself of joy by just looking around for things that can make me smile. I love to see on Facebook progress reports of the paintings that a friend of mine does and the progress reports on the house that another friend is building. I love reading texts from my kids and my friends and Facebook rants by my favorite people. I love spending time on schoolwork and doing research and reading and discovering things and working on little creative projects. Another way that I remind myself to look for joy is to look forward, to remind myself that warmer weather is coming. It is eventually going to stop snowing, that the coffee shops and park benches will become available again. Looking forward to that day when the headlights are out of my eyes and I can look ahead and just see the faces and the lights. days when I can remember that God is good, that the world is beautiful, and I love my family and my friends. And on the good days and on the bad days, the most important thing that I try to remember to do is to stay connected to God, to stay connected to Jesus, to be listening for his voice. Because that's where our strength comes from. It's where our hope comes from. It's where our life and our love come from. Jesus said this, I am the vine, you are the branches. You can't do it without me, but stay connected to me, and that fruit will grow to glorify my Father. The way the Father loves me, he said, I love you. Stay connected to me, to my love, and to my commands. And I'm only telling you this so that my joy may be in you, and so that your joy may be complete. I'm going to go sing a song. It's an amazing old gospel song written by a man who went through just about the worst experience someone can walk through, the loss of his wife and his child. He wrote an anthem and a prayer that is one of my favorite songs ever, and that carries me back to joy.